Hello and welcome back to Great British Biking Adventures. As you probably already know, we're making our way around the Great British coastline on our motorcycle. If you like what we're doing and want to keep up with future videos, please like and subscribe. And we really like to see and respond to your comments, so don't be shy, but do be polite. This is part 2 of the day that started at Cuckoo campsite, next to the Insecure prison, and ended at Brighton, where we ended up competing with the half marathon. Stick around and ride with us to the end of the video to find out how far we got this day.
As with many places along this coast, Rottingdean and Saltdean are inseparable. Saltdean is a relatively modern extension of Rottingdean, having been almost uninhabited until 1924 when the farmland was sold off for housing development. It's a prime example of how this section of South Coast has become more densely inhabited during the 20th century. Between here and Brighton there's a delightful coast path, much of it on a raised platform at the bottom of the cliffs. There are a few of these undercliff walks on this section of coast.
Bit of off-road in here, bit bumpy, bit of a ledge. So this is Peacehaven, the promenade. You could say this is where every day starts, because it's right here the Greenwich Meridian crosses the English south coast.
We're at 0 degrees longitude. What a good place to start a round the world trip. Now that's got me thinking. The promenade. The name suggests something more grand, but as it turns out it's just an unmade road serving the houses here. What a fantastic position and view they have.
So this is Newhaven, where there's a fort, and the end of our directions, Bognor Regis to Newhaven. On our Google it had 2 hours 41 minutes, but we spent a lot of time in Brighton having brunch and then navigating roads to get out on the seafront as much as we could. All the roads were closed because of the marathon. And now we're heading for the fort at Newhaven.
Newhaven Fort is one of the Palmerston forts mentioned in previous episodes.
Newhaven Harbour.
Newhaven's harbour was formed in the Middle Ages as a result of the harbour further east at Seaford drying up because of the longshore drift of shingle. Over the years, Newhaven has also battled against the tide, eventually constructing a breakwater to stop the drift. It derives its name from this time having made a new haven.
Hello. Thank you.
The present breakwater was built in 1890. Although not nearly as busy as Dover, Newhaven operates a cross-channel ferry service to Dieppe. In the First World War, Newhaven Harbour was the principal port for the movement of men and material to the European continent, and was taken over by the military authorities and the ferries requisitioned for the duration of the war. During World War II, large numbers of Canadian troops were stationed at Newhaven, and the ill-fated Dieppe raid in 1942 was largely launched from the harbour.
No camping. That's a shame, would have been tempting. Oh, nice car.
Up there is Newhaven Fort. And they've had a bit of a car meet here. I get the feeling we're on the tail end of it though. A couple of custom and classic cars here today. When the high-profile aristocrat, gambler and murder suspect Lord Lucan vanished in 1974, his car was found abandoned in Norman Road, Newhaven, with traces of blood matching the blood groups of his children's nanny, Sandra Rivet, whom he is believed to have murdered, and his wife who, according to her testimony, he had attempted to murder. The Newhaven location suggested that he had escaped to France, but no confirmed sighting of him was ever made. His disappearance remains a mystery to this day. In the Middle Ages, Seaford was one of the main ports serving southern England, but the town's fortunes declined due to the coastal erosion that benefited Newhaven. Persistent raids by French pirates didn't help either. Between 1350 and 1550, the French burned down the town several times. In the 16th century, the people of Seaford were known as the Cormorants or Shags, because of their enthusiasm for looting ships wrecked in the bay. Local legend has it that Seaford residents would on occasion deliberately cause ships to run aground by placing fake harbour lights on the cliffs. This is a Martello Tower, sometimes simply known as Martellos. These small defensive forts were built across the British Empire during the 19th century, from the time of the French Revolutionary Wars onwards. Most were coastal forts built to deter and repel invading enemies. There's a lot from this point eastwards. Some lie as ruins, others used as museums and attractions, as this one is, and some have been converted into homes and places to stay. Keep an eye out to see if you can spot more in this and future episodes. This is the Berlin Gap, which is National Trust, and as you can see it's extremely busy and lots of people here. Cars parked absolutely everywhere on the road, all over the place. I think it's just a case of going up there and having a look over the edge and the view out to sea. And I'm sure it's beautiful, but it's completely spoiled by people. The Seven Sisters are a series of chalk cliffs between Burling Gap to the west and Beachy Head to the east. There are 14 peaks and troughs called brows and bottoms that make up the 7 cross sections of ups and downs at the cliff edge. Unlike the White Cliffs of Dover, there's very little development around them, and they have been left to naturally erode. This maintains the clean white appearance. Consequently, they are more popular with filmmakers and photographers and have featured in several movies. They are very popular with tourists and even out of season draw large numbers. The cliff is the highest chalk sea cliff in Britain. The peak allows views of the south-east coast towards Dungeness to the east and the Isle of Wight to the west. There's a reason why this section lies completely undeveloped. In 1929, just as huge swathes of land were being built on, and at a cost of about £100,000, equivalent to 6.5 million today, Eastbourne bought 4,000 acres of land surrounding Beachy Head to save it from development. The land became known as the Eastbourne Downland Estate. At Beachy Head the road gets very close to the cliff edge. Unfortunately, Beachy Head's high steep cliff has become a magnet for suicides. Estimates of the number of annual deaths at Beachy Head vary from 20 a year to many more. Beachy Head chaplaincy team conducts regular day and evening patrols of the area in attempts to locate and stop potential cliff jumpers. Workers at the pub and taxi drivers are also on the lookout for people contemplating suicide, and there are signs with the Samaritan's telephone number urging potential jumpers to call them.
So we're just leaving Burling Gap and Seven Sisters Car Park, National Trust. Too busy for us. Quick stop. Reset the GoPro and things. And back out. Eye. The Eastbourne Eye would be the proper term these days. Wow, homemade samosas, Old English fudge, cheese company, perfumes. Ooh, yummy. Eastbourne Pier. Very grand.
So we're at the eastern end of Eastbourne, and there's some kind of battery here, obviously. There's a lot of battery points along the south coast. Some dating all the way back to Henry VIII times. When I spin the camera around, there's some, I'm not even sure what it is. It looks like it's a modern, up-to-date battery even today, but it's this place here. I should have taken a closer look, because this is the relatively modern water treatment works. All I can say is that they've done a good job at disguising it as a coastal fort. My excuse is it was a long day and we were ready now to stop riding. We ended up at the camping and caravanning club site at Norman's Bay. We didn't get any footage, not only because our GoPro batteries had run out, but we were pretty exhausted ourselves. We didn't know it at the time, but the next 2 days were going to be even harder. We mustered up the energy to ride into Bexhill, where we ate out at Pebbles Bistro. Join us next time to find out why the next couple of days got even harder.